QPR were just minutes away from securing their first Carrow Road victory since 2008 on Sunday afternoon after an Ant Cernat's own goal gave Rangers an unexpected lead just before half-time. But Marcelino Nunez's 89th minute strike after a second half of mounting Norwich pressure meant that Marti Cifuentes' side had to instead settle for a point on the road in their final away trip of 2024. So, for the final time this year, I'm going to break down this Rangers performance before rounding off with a short preview of Watford at home on New Year's Day. If you're new to Hoopsa and you like what you see or hear, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, or leave a rating on the platform of your choice. Cifuentes was always going to make changes after a disappointing outing on Boxing Day and 2 far away days in quick succession, but I was quite surprised when I saw exactly what those changes were, particularly in defence. Our left-hand side of Fox and Powell was continually exploited by Swansea in the first half, but instead it was Jake Clark-Salter who was dropped to the bench in favour of Harrison Ashby. That defensive tweak meant an uncommon appearance for the Newcastle loanee in his natural right-back position, and in turn an even less common appearance these days for Jimmy Dunn at centre-back next to Morgan Fox. In midfield, Jonathan Varane was swapped out for Lucas Anderson, meaning a deeper pairing of Field and Morgan behind the Dane, while Elias Chair finally came in for his first start since the 5th of November after a smattering of sub-appearances over the past 4 games. Now, of course, the narrative surrounding this game was that Norwich would be hungry and fired up for revenge, mainly because QPR served them their biggest loss of the season at Loftus Road earlier this month, but also partly because 2 incidents in that match have resulted in a fine for goalkeeper Angus Gunn and a 5-game ban for Kenny McLean, which the Scot had now served, meaning his first game back ironically was this return leg at Carrow Road. I have to say though, this Norwich side did not look fired up at all in the first half, and although QPR's goal just before half-time came with a large dollop of luck, I really thought we held our own. That might sound silly given QPR had just 2 off-target shots in the first 45 minutes, but gone was the lethargy of Boxing Day, and in its place was the intense pressing and strong shape off the ball that gave us our win over the Canaries earlier this month. There was also a bravery of QPR trying to play balls through the lines that we've barely seen this season home or away. That bravery led QPR to the game's first real chance on 8 minutes, and it was a really beautiful passing move that really was only missing the finish. Fox sprayed the ball out from the back to a deep dropping Chair, which he played inside to Field to rattle up to Colley. Ryan then quickly shifted the ball back to Chair and pivoted to give him a run, but Chair instead opted for an excellent ball in behind for an overlapping Kenneth Powell, who picked out a late arriving Anderson with a low cross on the edge of the box. Unfortunately though, as we so often see from the Dane, he snatched it and the ball went well wide. Under no pressure from the Norwich defence, he really should have done better. Borja Sainz was up next for the home side just a minute later, but Ashby closed the angle inside the box well to ensure his shot was also dragged wide. QPR were putting together some good passing moves over the next 10 minutes, and the pairing of Field and Morgan was working really effectively, but we just couldn't quite find that final ball up the pitch, and that often gave Norwich the chance to counter. Like when Field's failed pass out to Smith on the right was intercepted by Chris N, meaning with our left-hand side pushed high, Slimane was soon free for a shot from the right that Nardi thankfully nestled. Further Norwich efforts did follow, but nothing too clear, and our high press saw them more frustrated as the half went on. We had another strong chance on the counter later in the half that saw Chair set Smith free into the box to square for Colley, but he fluffed his ball and it went straight into the hands of Gunn. The difference here for me compared to Bristol City or Swansea is that while we still weren't creating a lot, we were competing all over the pitch and we were trying to be more adventurous with the ball. Playing like that with the game still level, that means you only really need a half chance, and that half chance came just before the half-time whistle when Smith won a corner from Morgan's ball over the top. Like all Ars fans, I often find myself frustrated at corners and free kicks hitting the first man, but that's usually because the taker, in this case Powell, is aiming for that sweet spot just at the near post where Jimmy Dunn is usually causing trouble, and this time Powell hit it perfectly, with the ball then hitting the arm of an unsuspecting Cernats and ending up in the back of the Norwich net. Very lucky, but we will take that all day long. Now, with QPR taking an unexpected lead, what I really didn't want to see in the second half was QPR sit back and retreat into this low block that we've been seeing away from home. Norwich were going to come at us, and sitting back was only going to end one way. And for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, it looked like we understood that that wasn't going to be the way to see the game out. The problem is, with Rangers starting to slow down and Samfield having picked up a yellow in the first half, Marti opted for a triple substitution, and looking back, this is really the moment that we lost the opportunity to win the game. Varane, Madsen and Frey replaced Field, Anderson and Colley, and with the loss of Colley's high press and Field's firefighting, we gradually became more and more pinned into our half for the remaining half an hour of the game. Sainz went close to an equaliser just a minute after those 3 changes, but Nardi's quick feet saw him get low and block the danger. Shane Duffy went even closer on 67 minutes with a header from a dangerous Norwich corner ball, but Nardi produced an even better reaction save to tip it onto the crossbar. One of QPR's 2 second half efforts followed on 69 minutes when Varane teed up Smith on the edge of the box, but his long-range effort bent just the wrong way of the right-hand post. A minute later, Smith was next to be subbed with Saito taking his place, but unfortunately with that tweak we regressed even further because we now had next to no outlet up the pitch at all. Norwich had 13 shots in the second half, and with such dominance, perhaps a draw is a fair result. But the thing that was frustrating about the final 20 minutes of the game leading to their eventual equaliser is it really felt like we invited it on ourselves. That's because for some reason, rather than hoofing the ball up long to the big striker we just brought on long, we repeatedly insisted on playing the ball out short from the back. And even when Sainz predictably robbed it from Nardi and rounded the keeper on 75 minutes, we still persisted with this approach. Only Sainz' selfishness to shoot rather than dragging it back for any of his 3 teammates inside the box prevented an almost certain goal. It's not just solely on the back line. When we did occasionally go long, like just after that let-off, Frey did struggle to make it stick. And Marti's decision to change from a deep pairing with a 10 in front to just Varane in front of the back line also stripped us of all ability to play the ball into the midfield. But surely if you don't have a midfield to pass into and you're 1-0 up at a ground as tough as this and it's starting to look like you're going to be caught out from playing out the back, a bit of pragmatism wouldn't go amiss. Even when we did get the ball out of the defence, we decided to play keep ball in our own half, and a brief intermission of split Rangers passing on 87 minutes resulted in 30 seconds of our lays. That was at least until a complete balls up from Powell played Norwich straight into an attack, let off once again only by Hernandez scuffing his shot from just next to the penalty spot. 2 minutes later, on the opposite wing, this time it was Varane and Ashby deciding to labour over the ball in our own half, rather than pumping it into the channel, and that led to a Norwich throw-in outside our box, and this time Rangers were not going to get away with it. Doyle launched the ball to the edge of the box for an unmarked Macondes to flick onto Ashley Barnes, who did well to hold off Fox and shift the ball out to Hernandez on the edge of the box. He then teed up a completely unmarked Nunez for a free shot, which he gratefully placed into the bottom left corner. It was just so frustrating, not because Norwich didn't deserve to equalise, but because it was entirely of our own doing. You could see it coming. And so late in the game, with 6 minutes of added time to come, I wouldn't have been surprised to see us completely throw it away. And Shane Duffy nearly made that a reality on 91 minutes when Borges Sainz flicked the ball through the Rangers wall from Macondes' free kick delivery, but his shot well over the crossbar saw Rangers escape with a point. Now, I do understand how weird it is to come away from a game in which we didn't even have a single shot on target once again and say I feel like we dropped 2 points. But I really do feel like we did. I appreciate that most fans would have been pleased with a point at Carrow Road before kick-off, especially with 2 of our first choice centre-backs injured, but with Norwich not completely at the races, it feels like a really wasted opportunity. It was an improved performance, but unlike Boxing Day, 4 of the 7 teams below us won on Sunday, so those extra 2 points would have been really useful had we been able to secure them. For me, it really does underline just how much we need a few extra bodies in January. We became weaker as the game went on because we lacked that sufficient depth, and none of the 5 subs that Marti made really had any kind of impact at all. But with that said, I really do think had we had the common sense not to continually play the ball out of the back, and if we hadn't changed that midfield shape, we probably would have got away with that win. So I hope Marti and the team learns from this one. So we now turn briefly to Watford, who are set to be the first visitors to Loftus Road on New Year's Day. Just like Norwich, this is another opponent QPR faced just a month ago in a 0-0 draw at Vicarage Road. A strong Arse performance which saw us have multiple good chances to turn into a win. Watford have played 5 games since then, drawing with Hull, beating both West Brom and Portsmouth, and losing to both Burnley and most recently Cardiff City. Cardiff's first win in 10 and first away from home at all this season was Watford's first home loss under manager Tom Cleverley since his appointment back in March, which also means that Watford have now slipped back out of the playoff spots into 7th, with Middlesbrough pipping them to 6th on goal difference. Interestingly though, Watford's form away from home reads completely opposite to their impressive home record, with just 2 wins, 2 draws and 7 losses so far this season. The Hornets haven't won away from home in 4 appearances, with their last a 6-2 thrashing of Sheffield Wednesday, in which top scorer Bio bagged 4. Forward Kwadwo Bar is expected to return to the starting 11, having served a 1-match ban for his fortnight take the L celebration at full time against Portsmouth before Cardiff. Never thought I'd say that sentence in one of these. But Rocco Vata and Imran Luza look like doubts, having both been subbed at half time. QPR are of course on a 3-match winning streak at Loftus Road, so Marti will be keen to capitalise on Watford's poor away record to keep that run going and get back to winning ways. So let's round off with one final match prediction for 2024. We seem to be playing much better at home these days, which is a strange change given how poor our form was at Loftus Road earlier this season, but I do think with our makeshift defence we do have a few more mistakes in us right now, so I'm going with a 2-2 draw. As usual, let me know your thoughts on the Norwich performance and your score predictions for Watford in the comments below. Before I sign off, I also just wanted to say a massive thank you for your support this year. At the end of 2023, I just hit 500 subscribers on YouTube, which was a massive milestone for me. And going into 2025, I've now surpassed 2,700, which is absolutely insane. So thank you so much for your support once again. I look forward to growing Hoopsa even further next year, and I wish you a very happy new year as well. Thank you so much for watching and listening this episode, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one for my Watford match reaction. Come on, you Rs.